Welcome. May we begin this joyful evening with a moment of shared worship. My father, who graduated in 1938, a time when students wore coats and ties to dinner, said that when the relative humidity and the temperature combined exceeded 140, the boys were allowed to not wear their jackets. I would like to invite anyone, on stage or off, to remove their jackets this evening, because it will be a bit warm. We're gathered this evening to celebrate these young people as they complete their middle school education. Our evening together will include the reading of 2 student essays, the honoring of each 8th grader, and a vocal music offering. We will close with a slideshow of the 8th grade canoe trip. In the absence of a doctrine or paid clergy, Quakers use queries as a means of encouraging right living. By their very nature, queries are not intended to be easily answered. Instead, they serve as relative touchstones. Throughout these students' middle school years, we've used 3 queries to guide us. Have I given my best effort? Have I taken a risk? Have I been kind? 8th graders, you have all worked tirelessly this year. Writing and rewriting essays, designing and endlessly coloring Mayan hieroglyphs, working with statistics for global, coming in early to complete a lab for science, flipping through flashcards to master new vocabulary, or helping one another figure out that complicated math problem. You've played hard at recess, and you have been fierce competitors on the athletic field. And you have taken care of one another, whether in our hallways or on canoe trips. Many of you have taken the risk of assuming leadership positions during your middle school years, and I would like first to recognize those of you who have been student clerks. Who have been captains of athletic teams. Who have been yearbook editors. Work program captains. Who have served us on advance crew for a canoe trip anytime in middle school. And who in their 8th grade year have completed a service project. All of you have taken on the leadership of fostering a lunch table conversation, of helping a new student feel welcome, as we heard about a lot in Meeting for Worship today, of looking out for younger students, who again, as we learned in Meeting for Worship today, clearly looked up to you. Thank you for your contributions. As you move into upper school next year, may you carry these gifts of determination and effort, generosity of spirit, resilience, playfulness, and adventure with you. We are all so proud of you.
We have a short break in the action here for the citations, and I'm going to introduce the speaker of our first essay. Each year, at the end of 8th grade, we ask our students to reflect upon their time in middle school and how they've changed or grown. From amongst these essays, the middle school faculty members select 2 to be read at this evening. Before I introduce tonight's readers, I would like to honor, however, several other students whose essays stood out for us. When I read your names, students, please stand, and if the audience could please hold their applause until all the names have been read, that would be great. So I would like to acknowledge the following students for their outstanding essays. Mia Brenneman, Lily Dominic, Sam Dyer, Sarah Haviland, Jack Hemphill, Greta Lyons, Lucy McGuire, Tong Powell, Adam Trask. Now you go. Aren't they good at that? The up and down stuff, we practice this. Okay. Tonight's first the two essays tonight are Sarah Moldoff and Margot Ells, and we will begin with Sarah. Sarah, if you can come up.
Every class has that one kid who rarely opens his or her mouth. That's me. All my life, I have been regarded as the quiet girl, the bookworm who is seen reading at home on Friday night, or the girl who cares more about her studies than her social life. Throughout middle school, however, I've started to emerge from my shell. Car rides are filled with discussions about the Arab-Israeli conflict, while long runs in gym are interspersed with conversations about shoes and fashion blogs. Truthfully, middle school has contributed a lot to my becoming more outgoing. To show fully how much I've changed over the past 3 years, I'll describe my time in lower school. I never would volunteer information in any class. I would sit quietly avoiding eye contact with the teacher, hoping that a classmate would volunteer information, until the teacher would say, "Sarah, who is Zeus?" Strangely, the only time that I was ever remotely boisterous was during our plays. I know that many people would picture me as the kid who always plays the tree in a play. I happen to undertake a completely different role. I was never given a large speaking part because of my shyness, though each time I'd always enunciate and speak my few lines so loudly that if it wasn't me standing up there on stage with my mouth moving and my voice coming out, you would have thought somebody had taken my place. Our 5th grade play was a parody of Snow White called Joe Knight and the Seven Serfs. I played the serf Squeaky, although I was more of a shouty than a squeaky. For years, I tended to only shift into my actual personality around my family and a few close friends. Whenever I was approached by somebody unfamiliar, I would revert back to my quiet self. Even with the encouragement of those close to me, I remained practically silent throughout lower school. Once I started middle school, this had to change. Most classes in middle school require the dreaded class participation. Starting in 7th grade, I found a consequence of not participating in classes could result in my grade being lowered. Anybody in my class could tell you I will do whatever I can to prevent one of my grades from being lowered. Therefore, when my classmates started setting goals for themselves on interesting topics, including sports and academics, I imagined a goal for myself: to talk, preferably once every 45 minutes. For somebody like me, however, offering up information about Thurgood Marshall and why you can't get the square root of a negative number without imaginary numbers was not something that came easily. Even now, at the end of 8th grade, talking in class isn't second nature for me. I have to remind myself to participate. Over time, however, I've adjusted, and although it's not easy for me, I'm actually comfortable when I talk in class. Now I speak up, even when my classmates might wish I hadn't. Like the time that I tricked my classmates into behaving instead of fencing with yardsticks. I just can't see myself acting reserved when placed into certain positions anymore. A lot of how I interact has to do with my personality. In 7th grade, each of us took the Myers-Briggs test to get a 4-letter code for our personality. My personality type was extremely introverted. Most people remain in the middle of the spectrum and only tend to lean towards one of the two sides. I, on the other hand, was dominantly introverted. It was like I was stuck in a quiet glass bubble while everyone around me was having a party. While going through middle school has helped me become more outgoing, I still prefer the glass bubble and the observation it allows me. Middle school has also helped to shape me from somebody who was terrified to speak in front of more than 3 people to somebody who can talk in front of a crowd. I've had many presentations throughout my time in middle school. I always feel like I'm dangling from a fraying rope aloft a raging waterfall before a presentation, but I've become much more confident at talking in public. Earlier this year, the middle school hosted a world simulation. In the world simulation, each kid was randomly assigned into groups. Each group represented a region or a large nonprofit organization or corporation. The object of the simulation was to advance in levels by interacting with the other groups, selling and buying resources, and solving a crisis. I was assigned to be a news reporter, observing the situation. As a news reporter for the simulation, I had to make 3 short presentations with the other kids. Although I wasn't completely comfortable talking in front of the whole school, I felt as though the news reporter position really suited my personality. I was pushed out of my comfort zone by speaking in front of the whole middle school, and I ended up saying something that wasn't the popular opinion. It was tough because I didn't want my friends and my classmates to be mad at me, but I hope my input changed a few opinions and maybe made a few people think about their actions. In the end, I found out that I could actually be quite successful speaking in public, and I am now much more confident in situations that required me to speak my mind. Going through middle school has helped me become more comfortable with talking more often, and now sometimes I can just spiel out an assortment of words, like talking to you now on stage. Starting to talk more has also helped to boost my self-confidence, which has enabled me to take part in many events that I would not have otherwise participated in. Over the summer, I traveled to Europe with 50 complete strangers on a program called People to People. For once, I wasn't scrutinizing the scene from outside. I was the leading heroine in the movie. I had to discover ways to talk to people who understood very little English, since the whole point of the program was to meet new people from around the world, something I would have never done as the shy 6th grader who entered middle school. Even though I'm still a shy person, I've learned when to put the shyness away and become more outgoing. There are times when it's good to observe from my glass bubble, and there are times to shatter it.
Sarah Marie Moldoff. Sarah notices things others don't, an attribute that fuels her powerful mind and empathic soul. Sarah is an outstanding mathematician, cartographer, writer. Sarah earned a perfect score on her 2010 National Latin exam and has researched Thurgood Marshall and access to safe water in West Africa. She graced us with a trombone solo in Dance of the Slippery Slides and worked on set and prop crews. Sarah did her service project at Fair Acres Geriatric Center, where she painted nails, pushed wheelchairs, and talked to the ladies. Sarah found satisfaction in these small talks, appreciating her contact with women from a different time and set of opportunities. She said, "I feel proud to know these women since they're incredibly strong and have lived through so much. We feel proud to know Sarah and imagine she will be a Supreme Court Justice, an ambassador, or frankly, anything she chooses."